Hi there, welcome to Dr. Tu Academy. This is Java tutorial for beginners. Lesson number 18. The topic of lesson number 18 is collections. So what is collection? We group a bunch of objects into one unit, and this unit is called collection. Collection contains objects of same type. So sometimes a collection is also called a container. We can perform different operations such as retrieve, store on the objects of the container or the collection elements. So how to use collections? These are the most commonly used built-in collection classes. These built-in collection classes are very useful in our Java programming, and I will show you how to use them in the actual coding. Now let's double-click eclipse.exe file. Click on Project Explorer. This is the project of our last lesson, lesson 17. Now let's create a new project for this lesson. Click on File, New, Project. Click on Java Project. Click on Next. Project name, Lesson 18. Click on Next. Click on Finish. Module name, com.drtuacademy.java tutorial.lesson 18. Click on Create. Right-click on Lesson 18, New, click on Class, Package name, com.drtuacademy.java tutorial.lesson 18. Class name, Code Tester. Click on Finish. Now let's add the main method. Public static void main string brackets box braces. Now let's create a new class, user. Right-click on Lesson 18, New, Class, User. Click on Finish. Private member variable, username. Private member variable, password. Constructor, public, user. Username is assigned empty string. User password is assigned empty string. Another constructor with parameters. User string name string password username is name, user password is assigned the value of the parameter password. If user name is name and user password equals password and name is not empty string and password is not empty string, return true, else return false. So this is the login authentication method. Annotation override. Public string to string return username. Now let's go back to the main method. Click on code tester. Now let's create an ArrayList variable. As we can see, there is a red line beneath the ArrayList. Put the mouse over here. It says ArrayList cannot be resolved to be a type. So we have to import java.util. Import java.util. See, now the red line disappeared. Now let's create a new ArrayList object for the name list variable. New ArrayList. This ArrayList contains the string. Now let's add new username to the name list. Name list dot add string Alex name list dot add Jeff name list dot add enter name list dot add Jennifer name list dot add Harry name list add Dave name list dot add call Now we have 7 names in the name list. Let's see how to iterate through the name list. For collection object, we often use the iterator to do the iteration. Iterator, name list, iterator, while iterator has next string name iterator next print out name print line name. We see the red line underneath the itr.next. That means something is missing. Let's put the mouse here. You see the type mismatch because the itr.next method returns the object, but the name variable is a string type, so we need to convert the object to string type. Here's how to convert the object to string type. Parentheses string. Now the red line disappeared. For ArrayList object, we can also use for loop to do the iteration. For string name list system out print line name. Let's add a separate line between these two blocks. System.out.println following is from for loop. Now let's double click line 7 to put a breakpoint here. Click on debug button. Here we create a new ArrayList object, name list. Step over. We add a string Alex to the name list. Add a string Jeff. Just keep adding strings. Now we are going to get iterate of this ArrayList object and put it into the variable itr. Now let's do the while loop. If the itr iterator has next element, we just retrieve that next element and convert that element into a string. Now we got the first string of this array list, Alex. Print out Alex. Get the next. Next is Jeff. Print out the Jeff. Step over. Get the next. It's Linda. Print out Linda. As we can see, we can use the while loop to iterate through the ArrayList object. As long as the hasNext method of the iterator returns true, we can use the next method to get the object stored inside the ArrayList. The next method returns the object, so we need to convert that object to the string object. Next. Now we have printed out all the objects stored in the ArrayList. There is no more object inside the ArrayList, so the hasNext will return false. It will skip the while loop. See? Now we are going to print out a line here. The following is from for loop. Now we are going to use the for loop to iterate through the ArrayList. Print out the first, Alex. Print out the second, Jeff. Print out Linda. Print out Nicole. Finish the loop. Step over. Here we just use the ArrayList to store the string object, and use the iterator of the ArrayList and the while loop to loop through each string object of this ArrayList. And we also use the for loop to loop through the ArrayList. We know the collection classes are generic class, so it can handle different types. Now we are going to use the LinkedList to store and loop through the user object. LinkedList. The parameter type is user object. User list. Now we're going to allocate memory for this user list. New linked list. Now let's add the user object to this user list. User list add. Create a new user object. Jeff, username, password, JF12345. Now let's add another user object. New user Linda, password LD12345. Add another user object. New user Jennifer, password JF12345. User list add new user, username Harry, password HY12345. user list, add new user, username Dave, password 345. User list, add new user Nicole, NI 1 2 3 4 5. Now we have created a linked list object, user list, and added 6 user object into this linked list object. Now we are going to get the iterator of this user list. Iterator 2 is user list. Iterator. Let's use the while loop to iterate through this linked list. While iterator 2 has next user convert to user next print out the user object system dot out dot print line user Now let's use the for loop to loop through this linked list. For user list system out dot print line user let's print a line separate output system dot out dot print line the following is from the for loop. Let's double click line 30 to put a breakpoint here. Click on debug button. We stepped through the ArrayList statements already, so we don't want to do that again. Just click on resume button or press F8 to stop at the next breakpoint. Now we are at the line 30. These are the output of our previous statements of ArrayList. Now we declare linked list object user list. The user list will store the user object. Now let's step over So we have created a new user list object, but right now there's nothing inside. First element is null, last element is null, count is 0. Now we create a new user object. Username is Jeff, password is Jeff12345, and add this new user object into the user list. See, now the user list has a user object, Jeff. The count is 1. We added Linda user object into the list. So now it's Jeff, Linda, and the count is 2. So we keep on adding user object into this LinkedList object. Now let's get the iterator of this user object. Here we are going to use the while loop and the iterator to loop through this user list object. So if iterator has next element, we'll go into the while loop to get the next element. Step over. So we get the next element and convert the next element into the user object and put that into the local variable user and print out the user. See, Jeff. Print out the next, Linda. Just keep looping through. Now we're going to use the for loop to loop through this linked list. Print out the first user object, Jeff. Print out the second, Linda. Remember, when we print out the user object directly, it will get to the overridden method toString. Print out next, Harry, Dave, Nicole, so we use the linked list to store the user object, and they use the iterator and the while statement to loop through the user list object, and we also use the for loop to loop through this linked list object. Another commonly used collection class is HashMap. We use HashMap store key value pairs. The big advantage of the HashMap is the speed. If we know the key, we can access the stored object right away. We can use the key to access the HashMap element at a very fast speed. The HashMap is also the most frequently asked questions in job interviews. Now let's see how to use HashMap to store and access the key value pair of user objects. HashMap user map. Create a new HashMap object. new HashMap. Let's put a new key value pair into this user map HashMap object. Map put key integer 129 object username Jeff, password JF12345. Put another key value pair into this HashMap object. User name Linda, password ILA12345. User map put 489 new user Alex, AX12345. User map put 99 new user username Harry, password HY2345. User map put 101 new user object Dave, password D12345. User map put 9 new user object username Nicole, password NE12345. I forgot the new keyword here. Now let's see how to access the user object inside the user map. Let's create a user variable, user1, user2, user1 is user map get. We put the key here. Let's put 101. We know that 101 will return Dave. Now the user2 is user map get 102. As we can see, we created a key value pair and put the pair inside the HashMap variable user map. The key doesn't have to be incremental, so it could be 1 to 9, also 9 and 101. So the sequence of the key is random. So we store the key value pair inside the HashMap object. We can access the value through the key by using the method get. In this statement, we use the key 101 to get the value user object Dave. In the second statement, we use the key 102 to access the user object. Since we did not have the key 102 inside the user map, the user2 will return null. Let's comment out previous statements. Now let's double click on line 54 to put a breakpoint here. Click on debug button. Now we are going to create a new HashMap object and put the object into the variable user map. Let's click. Step over. Now we have created a new HashMap object, user map. Now we are going to create a key value pair. The key is 1 to 9. The value is a user object, Jeff, with the password JF12345. Step over. Let's see. Now the user map has a key value pair. Key is 1 to 9. Object Jeff. Step over. See. Now we have put the second key value pair into the user map object. Key is 369. Value is Linda object. Click on step over. Now we have put the fourth key value pair into user map. Notice the key is not incremental, right? Because we have 99 here. So the sequence of the key value is random. Now we are going to get the user object corresponding to the key 101. This should return us a user object, Dave. Step over. Let's take a look. User 1 is Dave, right? Now let's try to get another user object corresponding to key 102. We know this object does not exist inside the user map. See, user 2 is null. So we use the get method to get the object corresponding to the key. If the object does not exist inside the hash map, then the get method will return null. Step over. The main advantage of HashMap class is we can store the key value pair and to have a quick access to the object by using the key. We can also use the while loop and for loop to iterate through the HashMap elements. Now let's see how to use the iterator and the while loop to iterate through the HashMap elements. Iterator, map, entry, key, integer, value is user class, iterator 3, ITR3 is user map, entry set, iterator, while, iterator, ITR3 has next, is true, map dot entry, integer, user, entry, entry is iterator 3, next, integer, key is entry, get key, user is entry, get value, system out, print line, key is key plus user is plus user, we declare variable entry of the type map.entry, and we use the next method of iterator to retrieve the next element, and we use the get key and get value to retrieve the key and the value pair, and we print out the key and the value. Now let's print out a separate line. The following is from for loop. Now let's use the for loop to iterate through the HashMap. For map dot entry integer user entry user map entry set. Integer key is entry get key user is entry get value, print out system dot out dot print line key is key plus user is user object. Now let's double click line 69 to put a breakpoint here. Click on debug button. Now we are going to get the iterator of this user map. Step over to see the iterator. Step over. We get the first entry is 129 Jeff. Now we are going to get the first entry's key. Key is 129. Key is 129. Step over. The value is Jeff. So we are going to print out the key value pair. Key is 129. Value is Jeff, user object. Step over, step over, step over. So we get the key and the value is Linda, user object. You can see the username is Linda, password is LA12345. Step over. Let's keep looping through the while loop. Now let's use the for loop to iterate through the hash map. We get the first entry from the entry set. The first entry has the key 129. Step over. The value is user object. So we print out key value pair. Step over. Get another entry from the entry set. The second key value pair is 369 Linda. Let's keep looping. So to loop through the hash map, we need to get the map entry. That's the key here. When we declare an iterate object variable for HashMap entry, always remember to specify the key value type. To iterate through the HashMap entries, we always use the entry set method to retrieve the entry set, then call the iterator method to get its iterator, and use the while loop to iterate through the entry set. We can also use the for loop to loop through the entry set directly without using the iterator. The most important thing to remember about the HashMap is we store the key value pair inside its entry. So each entry inside the HashMap object is a key value pair. Now let's summarize what we just learned about collections. If we put a group of objects with the same type into one unit, and this unit is called a collection, we can perform operations on each object inside this unit, and the Java provides a built-in Java collection frameworks for us. We learned how to use ArrayList, LinkedList, and the HashMap for stack, vector, queue, and dequeue. You can study by yourself. It's not that hard. Our next lesson will be I/O streams. We will learn what is I/O stream and how to use I/O streams to read data from a file or save data to a file. That's all for today. I'll see you next time. Bye.